Greetings, my excellent friends. Oh, but it has been some time since we've done this. It was what? June, July, something, of 2022 that I finished, Ace Attorney 3 on here. All of those are saved. We did the full trilogy on Steam. Those are saved VODs. And I said at the time it was my intent to divide streaming of the Ace Attorney games into 4 chunks in a specific order. The only real order that you absolutely need to do with these is the original trilogy first and the, I suppose, second trilogy that's looser, Apollo Justice and then the 2 3DS games. You would do those in order sometime after. But the other 2 chunks, the Edgeworth chunk and the prequel 1800s Great Ace Attorney chunk, are a lot looser than that. But I always said I'd do the Edgeworth ones before the Apollo Justice and on. Partially because they are set chronologically that way. And also that even though they were the most readily available on Steam back then, after the originals, I wasn't going to do Great Ace Attorney till last, because I'd never played them before and they were highly regarded. Whereas there's some stumbling blocks in the next 2 chunks. The one we're about to play, Ace Attorney Investigations 1, some people don't like it as much. I certainly think that the game immediately after it is better. But we play this in order to lay the groundwork for that next one, so I'm glad that it's in this order, because if the really good one was now and the okay one was second, that'd be I always prefer an up-ramp than a down-ramp, you know? When it comes to things of varying quality. And that's the other thing. I didn't want to play Great Ace Attorney until last, because if I played that, then the last Ace Attorney game I'd get to stream would be Spirit of Justice. And even though that's also one I've never played, that also has mixed reception. But yes, this is the Edgeworth duology, which I only have 1 playthrough of each to my name. The 3 that we played a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, depending, were the ones I was most familiar with, so we'll be relearning this one. I played them in 2016, which is a good 8 years at this point, so it's that nebulous sort of... I remember who did the killings at any given point. So it's not a sort of run in which I can necessarily be spoiled, but the finer details of the puzzle solving will be well out of my head, which is sort of what you want in a game like this. You don't want to play them so often that you know all of the twists and turns. Like Ace Attorney 1 will never surprise me again, but the later ones in the series can, and that's good. You always play a game like that, and then you just fucking toss it into the memory hole for 3 years before you 3 years minimum before you touch it again, and that way when you do touch it again, it is as good a time as it could possibly be. So these ones are different. The gameplay is a little different. We're not a defense attorney, we are Edgeworth the prosecutor, so instead of being in court, we are investigating and having direct arguments with people. And so to win is to find the guilty culprit and make sure they're the ones that end up that end up the defendant. So we win the battle before the actual trial. The trial happens off camera and is presumably cut and dry, which is a fantastic way to rebalance it from the other side, while still giving us a challenge. Instead of facing off against an enemy lawyer, we're facing off against the enemy themselves. And we also get to walk around a bit, which I don't remember how that works. I imagine it's fairly straightforward, though. isn't straightforward is making sure this works. Apologies for the flashbang, but that's what the DS emulator looks like when a game hasn't been loaded. I've got the main screen taking up most of it, and then I've got a tiny little second screen down there, because I don't think that needs to be particularly focused on, and I think this is the best way to structure our screens. Also, it's summer, so we're going to have the air conditioner on a lot, or else I will die. Yeah, these are actual DS games. We do not have Steam copies of this. I don't know if they ever will. From a Japanese perspective, I can see why they would, because they're releasing everything else on Steam, but from an English perspective, it creates a problem. Because they never localized Ace Attorney Investigations 2. It's the only one left. They localized Great Ace Attorney for the Steam release, but unlike that one, this one has a really, really, really definitive fan patch for Investigations 2. Like, they localized that thing. They invented all of the English names for the new characters. They invented all of the jokes and references. They took that script and did it in the spirit and the style that they were supposed to. And they did it properly. And I don't think I want Capcom to do their own, because it couldn't match up. It would be the same game with the same story, but the names would be wrong and weird, and the jokes would be wrong and weird. But I also don't know how they could, like, necessarily buy the fan patch and make it official, because does it have an owner? What does it, like, it was made more than a decade ago. So yeah, personally I hope these just stay on the DS. I don't know what else to, suggest with them to make that work. Alright, we should get sound. There it is. Let me know if the volume is correct or off or whatever. And, one moment. Turnabout visitor. March 14, 11:16 a.m. Question marks. To make sure the defendant is found guilty. What other choice do I have? That's the job of a prosecutor, after all. That may be true, but why? Why go this far? Okay, neither of those are Edgeworth. Sorry. Maybe I wasn't clear enough. But a guilty verdict is all that matters to me. No matter what the cost. Hello, metal man with a gun. I'm a prodigy among prosecutors. Always have been. Always will be. I don't remember the part of prosecutor school where you were supposed to shoot the people. Maybe that was a secret lesson that you only get to learn in the evil class, but it doesn't seem like an advisable way of doing things. The judge, jury, and executioner section, perhaps so. You would think the prosecutor's building would have fewer murders in it than the outside world. Right, but we have to start the game off with a bang, and we need to contrive a reason for our prosecutor main character to be involved in the murder. So, you know, where better than his office? Now, I think the realistic reason why they did this is because it's, they wanted to use the location for the actual walking gameplay. And also, they'd already established Edgeworth's office in, Rise from the Ashes, and they wanted to explore it more. I think. Anyway, it is an unusual start. It's a very, what's the word? Tropey. Part of the final exam is to kill somebody and successfully prosecute and convict someone else. Ah, yes, the Von Carmack School of Prosecution Perfection. March 14, 2:05 a.m. Right, so he's at work late, probably singing about his feelings. Second floor hallway. Here we go, we got a briefcase. It's hard to believe that I've been away from my office for a whole month. But yeah, in terms of where this sits, it's fairly simple. It's after the third game, but before Apollo Justice. This comes out after Apollo Justice, mind you. If you look at the Ace Attorney timeline, you get the original trilogy from 2001 to 2004, which are not DS games natively, they're Game Boy Advance games. Everyone forgets this, because they were not brought to America until they had their DS ports. The Japanese Ace Attorney trilogy were originally on the GBA, and this DS layout that we're very used to is like the definitive Ace Attorney layout. That was an upgraded port. So 2004 was when the trilogy ended. 2005 was when we started to see them. Apollo Justice comes out in 2007 and is the first game that is natively on DS. And then 2 years after that we get this. 2 years after that we get this one's sequel. And then 2 years after that we get the 3DS one, Dual Destinies. The compilation that's coming out later this month on Steam is of Apollo Justice and the two 3DS games, not because they are a trilogy. They're not. They're not a trilogy in the same way the original is. It's just that they're what's left. And all three of them happen to have Apollo Justice in it, so it works, I guess. That's their best effort, I suppose. Anyway. But yeah, chronologically, Apollo Justice is a 7-year time skip. This is before that. I hope Detective Gumshoe has been keeping an eye on my office. And keeping it clean. The door is unlocked. Detective Gumshoe? What's the smell? It's very familiar. Blood? A lot of the music is different, but the tension music is the same. There's an elegance to the music in these two games that is different from the frantic energy that's in the first three. And in the rest, because like all of the protagonists in Ace Attorney except for this guy tend to be pretty fiery, you know, like hot-blooded, impulsive, flying by the seat of their pants, whereas Edgeworth is calm and prepared, and these games feel different as a result, not only because the gameplay's different, but musically and just in terms of how you construct your logic and your arguments and how the puzzle solving works. It should surprise no one, but I prefer it this way. What the... What's the meaning of this? Not that he's always in control and calm, mind you. Freeze! Identify yourself. Shut up. You've got some nerve committing murder in a prosecutor's office. Is that a threat? Let me make one thing very clear.
What?
No one gets away with committing murder in my office. No one. Just calmly threatening the man who has a gun to your back. My name is Miles Edgeworth, and I work as a prosecutor in my local district. Little did I know that upon my return home after a month abroad, I would be thrust into a multitude of cases and some very frantic and busy days. March 14, 2:56 a.m., so he got right on it. High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202. So his... it's a portrait of his outfit. I don't know, it's weird. Like, I don't know if this is like a frame where he's got his jacket hung up and, like, encased in glass, or if it's a picture of his jacket. But we have a prosecutor's badge. Proof of my profession. However, I prefer to keep it in my pocket. Unlike Phoenix, he doesn't like showing it around. He just has it. And we have the victim. We don't know anything about him, but we do know his face, because we can see it. Well, we can't actually see it. It's off to the side. Yeah, I think I spent an embarrassing amount of time trying to pixel perfect the, okay, you can see the cursor when this is the active window, but when it isn't, you can't. That's interesting. Like, trying to make sure that none of the screen was cut off on any side here, and that it also it matched up with the size of this, and none of this was cut off. You can see the word evidence clearly. There's a bit of the classic Sierra LucasArts point-and-click look to these pixel graphics. Yeah, these pixel graphics are entirely unheard of elsewhere in the franchise. How much Ace Attorney have you played? I don't remember. I think you might have been the one who hadn't played any and just watched me play them. Anyway, but yeah, these are officially a side story. I think if you want to look at the series proper, I think there's 11 games in it. There's the trilogy we played, the second trilogy, and then the 2 side stories that are each 2 games long. And then there's the Layton crossover, which also doesn't exist on Steam. I have played that, even though I haven't played any Layton games. But I don't think I'd stream it, because I don't see it leaving the 3DS, and I don't know how to stream from the 3DS. March 14, High Prosecutor's Offices, room 1202. Which they could say Miles Edgeworth's office, but they're being official here. I finished photographing the victim's body, sir. Very well. Please continue your investigation. Yes, sir. Wait, what did he just scream? Mr. Edgeworth, sir! Are you okay, sir? I looked away for 2 seconds. We also have save states, if we should happen to want them. I feel like this isn't the sort of game where I need save states, but I'm going to keep them anyway, because, if nothing else, it will allow me to stop at any time without having to engage with this. So that's slightly more convenient, though it doesn't make a big difference when it's a save anywhere game anyway. I pretty much always default to using them because even when it's just slightly more convenient, it's always more convenient. Yeah, I looked away for 2 seconds to like. Basically, like I always do when I play these games, I have a guide window open, but not. I have it covered by chat. And then I'll swap to it if we ever don't know what to do next. Especially for the walking around stuff, because I don't want to miss anything. But yeah, here he is, looking... I don't know what's happening here with this line of pixels next to his arm. I wonder if that's an emulator issue, or if the game just be that way. Because part of his arm is coming out of him and going back and forth. We've also got 2 pixels to denote the pencil in his head, which I find quite funny. And he's just going to seethe like that forever if we let him. Yeah, I think Layton games-wise, I could play the original ones on DS if I wanted, but I would not be able to get to the... Well, there is a 3DS emulator, I've just never looked at it. It's probably actually doing alright now. I know it wasn't doing alright back in 2016, but that's a while ago. Anyway. Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright is the only one that I played once and figured I would never get to play again because I had to borrow it. Whereas Dual Destinies I had bought on my 3DS. I didn't end up buying Spirit of Justice on 3DS, and now the 3DS shop is gone. But, hey, they're releasing it on Steam. Still, though, it's going to take a while to get cheap enough. I know that the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles are pretty cheap now, so that's good, but I would like... those are the last ones on my list to get, so... we'll see how long it takes me to do the Apollo Justice trilogy, but it'd be, you know... There'd be a gap between each chunk, so it'd be like next year. That should be enough time for it to get a bit more affordable. We'll play this. My goal is to play this one between now and the end of March, when I go away for 2 weeks. And then I would play the second one, which is still... Having not played Great Ace Attorney, I can't say for certain, but of all the ones I've played, best game in the franchise is this one's sequel. Anyway. We'll actually play it. Keep it down, detective. This is a crime scene. Hey, there's his pencil. He's got a few more pixels there. When I heard that a murder had taken place in your office, I ran up here straight away. This is Dick Gumshoe. He is a detective with the local precinct, and the one they assigned to handle this murder case for the time being. You're looking a little pale, sir. Are you hurt? No, I'm perfectly fine. However... Ah! Look what they did to your office! It's totally trashed! I'll say. The culprits sullied my floor with dirt rather well. No one gets away with tracking mud into my office. Whoa! Sounds like you're really getting burned up over this whole thing. This crime was committed in my office, so it is my responsibility to solve it. That's just like you, Mr. Edgeworth. Okay, time to do some investigating. Agreed. Our first course of action is to gather relevant facts and leads. We must not overlook anything, no matter how small, if we are to find the truth. So, I'll keep any leads or information we find etched in the forefront of my mind. Speaking of things that pique my curiosity, why of all places did the murder occur in my office? Crime scene, my office. Is it really coincidence that the murder took place in my office? I get the nagging feeling that this is something important to keep in mind. Yeah, I was wondering that myself, sir. I mean, you can't really say it's just a coincidence, can you? No, not really. Especially because of this. The key to your office? Yes, for security reasons, the office's door has a lock built into it. Yeah, fair. What do you mean, sir? If you think about it carefully and use logic, it should become clear to you. Logic? by finding the connection between two pieces of information and connecting them, new information is born. That is the end result of using logic.
So, how do you use it?
First, I recall information through the logic button and then connect them together. Now, to touch the logic button and recall the facts. So yeah, this is just a connect the dots thing, which makes more sense when we've got a bunch of these, but when we have two, it's a bit simple. And our health is on the line here, as it would be in court. For security reasons, all prosecutors' doors are outfitted with locks, which means it would have been hard for the murderer and the victim to get in here. Ergo, it's impossible to dismiss the location of this crime as mere coincidence.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, sir.
There must be a reason why someone infiltrated my room. What was the killer after? Why did this happen in my office? What was the killer after?
You're really on the ball today, Mr. Edgeworth. That's some beautiful logic, sir.
Yes, well, when you follow leads to their conclusion, only the truth remains. However, if the information doesn't line up properly, I may stray far from the truth as well. But if I think carefully before piecing leads together, the logic should flow. Well, let's get started with our investigation, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Begin investigation of the High Prosecutor's offices.
The basis of any good investigation is to examine everything, sir.
I know that. I do this for a fucking living, detective. And when I want to examine something, I simply touch the examine button.
Oh, and if you ever feel lost and want to talk, just touch the partner button, okay?
Are we not doing phrasing today, detective?
Mr. Edgeworth, I'm an Intellect 1, Empathy 5, Physique 6 build. I don't know what logic even is.
Yeah, Gumshoe. I would genuinely enjoy a Gumshoe and Edgeworth Disco Elysium. Like with Edgeworth as Kim. It's basically just this game, but reversed the protagonists. I guess you have to get rid of the other one that shows up later, but for these two at least.
I'll give you great precise advice as an ace investigator, sir.
Something to try later if I have free time, I suppose. Sure.
You called, sir?
Is there anything you noticed that you'd like to share, Detective Gumshoe?
Just that I rushed over here as soon as I heard there was a murder in your office, sir. The investigation's just gotten started, so I guess there's not much else to say. So, were you the one that found the body, Mr. Edgeworth?
Unfortunately. Upon my return, I found my office door to be unlocked. And what awaited me inside was this whole messy affair.
Ouch, that's rough.
Even though I left the security of this room to a certain detective...
Sorry, sir.
I assume you understand how to conduct investigations, Detective Gumshoe?
Of course, sir. Examine things by tapping them or by touching the examine button. By checking various things out, we gather evidence and information. You can see the evidence we've collected by touching the organizer button. For information...
For information and leads, it's the logic button.
That's it! Great job, sir. Deductive reasonable is the way to go.
It's called deductive reasoning, Detective. Clearly something you lack. Here, have a badge.
The prosecutor's badge is really tiny compared to my police badge. Oh, but, it's really cool, sir. Much cooler than my badge could ever be.
There's no need to suck up to me, Detective. Can we present profiles? No. That's interesting, because we can in them. Dick Gumshoe, age 32, homicide detective at the local precinct, in charge of the initial investigation, as he always is, and never with any competence. Alright. So, walking's weird. I just sort of click around on the pad, and then when I butt up against something, I can examine it. However, I can use controller as well. Well, I can use the keyboard and mouse, but I actually have... with all of my emulators, I pump them into my PS4 controller, which is strange, but... Anyway. So, there's lots of things to look at. Well, let's talk to the people first. Do you have anything to report?
Sir, yes, sir. Nothing out of the ordinary right now, sir. And yet there's something out of the ordinary right in front of my eyes. Talk about a contradiction.
Something out of the ordinary, huh? I should look around a bit more. If you ever hear the music speed up like that, it's because I have a speed up button that I will use if ever I'm repeating dialogue. Because funny thing, the DS games don't actually let you speed up the text scroll. I thought they did because I'm used to the HD collection, but they fucking don't. You you just have to sit there and watch it go brr, 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 even if you're repeating something, which would have driven me nuts if I didn't have a speed up button. Can I talk to you? Yeah. How is it coming along?
Please, I need absolute silence. Fingerprint lifting is a delicate art.
Well, I never. And there's a dead body, but let's look at the gun first. If it lets me, there we go. What have we here? Could this perhaps be the murder weapon? If so, it would mean that the killer made their escape after disposing of their gun here.
I think I've seen one of these before.
Care to enlighten me as to where?
Oh, I know! I was issued the exact same model. I think.
Detective?
I don't really like guns all that much. I mean, they're really dangerous. But now that I think about it, you do see this model around the precinct a lot, sir. I don't use mine much, except in emergencies, so that's why I didn't recognize it.
So it's the same type of revolver as the ones used by this precinct's detectives. Just as an aside, Gumshoe, where is your gun right now? I hope we can solve this case quickly. I'd like to return to relaxing on this sofa.
That thing looks a billion times softer than my mattress at home. Can I sit on it too? Just for a little while, sir.
Detective Gumshoe, you know I can't allow that. Until this case is solved, neither of us has time to spare, let alone rest.
You're right, sir. I'm gonna work real hard and be a real trooper to the end.
Even once this case is over, I don't think he can afford to take any time off. Can we examine the thing over there, or is that just going to give us the couch? It's going to give us the couch. Oh, there we go. Does it let us skip now? Okay, yeah, it lets us skip it when it's been repaired. Okay, that's good. I know it doesn't the first time. Watch. Actually, let me just double check my hotkeys. Is saving state Shift and 1? No. Can I set that up, maybe? You just don't have hotkeys in this one. Problem with using 70 fucking emulators is that Telling one of them to do something doesn't make the other do it. Hotkey configuration just wants fucking... Oh, here. Yes, yes. Very good. Okay. Right, so now I can do this to save. And I can do this to load. Better. Oh, I don't want to start it. Hang on. Oh, okay. I'm good to go. Plant! Is this yet another batch of fresh flowers?
The ones that come with a card attached every month like clockwork for you? Yup. Speaking of that, let's see what's on the card this month, sir. All will be resolved. Wendy.
Oh, Ms. Irony. How painful are thy thorns.
Wendy. Isn't that the name of the old lady with the whiny voice that stuck?
That's enough, detective. You need not remind me further. Well, it's a good thing my steel samurai doll was spared any harm.
Speaking of which, I still haven't actually sat down and watched any of that show. What's it about again?
Well, I don't know much about it myself, but the hero of the Steel Samurai Warrior of Neo-Oldie Tokyo is the Steel Samurai, and his goal is to defeat the evil magistrate. It's a show geared toward kids. However, its high production values and riveting plot draws in a number of adults as well. Spin-offs like Pink Princess, Warrior of Little Oldie Tokyo, and the Nickel Samurai, along with the deluge of merchandise and even a new stage show, gives it presence.
You sure know a lot. Are you sure you're not some sort of rabid fanboy?
Of course not. Anyone that keeps up with society knows at least this much. And that conversation lasted longer than expected. Let us return to the investigation, detective.
Oh, it's your trophy. The, Knight of Persecutors, right?
King of Prosecutors. And it is not a trophy, it is a shield.
They only send this to the winning prosecutor, right?
Yes, but I have no real interest in the perceived worth of other people. As for my own worth, that is something only I can determine for myself.
That's so slick, sir. I'm gonna have to try saying that sometime.
Unfortunately for him, his monetary worth is tied directly to his worth to me, which isn't very much.
Ah! Watch out for the teacup fragments there, sir.
That killer is going to pay! This tea set.
Yikes! You're really mad over this.
This tea set is very dear to my heart and can only be bought in England. It cost more than your whole month's paycheck.
What? Now I feel like the killer's wasted one of my monthly paychecks.
It's been a while since I've sat at this desk. Oh, how I've missed you. It's so tidy that it looks newer than when I first bought it.
Yeah, that thing's so polished that it makes mirrors jealous.
Don't tell me you had no other work the entire time I was away, detective.
My job is to protect your office, sir.
And you did such a good job protecting it that a murder occurred in it.
That's harsh, sir.
I have to admit the desk has never looked better, so I guess I can't dock his pay.
Your files are all over the floor, sir.
They probably fell during the struggle between the victim and his killer.
Aw, I tried so hard to keep this place spotless while you were away. I mean, this just rendered all the time and effort I put in pointless.
I don't recall ever asking you to clean my room.
Well, I water the flowers every day, just like you requested, sir. I just added cleaning to the list as a weekend special. For about half a day every Saturday, I'd come in and clean this place until it sparkled.
Does he have a life?
Ouch! They even knocked over your chess set! I had it all set up, ready for when you got back. I figured we could play a few games.
I had no idea you were interested in chess.
I'm actually pretty good at checkers, so I thought I'd give chess a try.
In that case, I suppose I could set some time aside after we solve this case. Though I don't expect the games to tax my mental acuity much. They finished photographing the body, so it should be all right to examine this area. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Starting with his wallet. What do we have here?
Hey, I think I've seen one of these before.
It's a police badge, Detective. Oh.
Oh, hey, I have the exact same thing, actually. What a coinkydink.
Let's take a look inside. Mr. Buddy Faith. It would appear that our victim was a detective, just like you. I seem to have gathered a few pieces of pertinent information. Now to calmly use some logic and figure out if any of them are connected to each other.
I don't believe it! I packed those files on these shelves so tight that not even an earthquake could make them fall off. But just look at them! At this rate, the rest of the files won't be able to withstand an earthquake at all!
A problem, to be sure. Well, once the investigation is over, we'll put them back up on the shelf. And by we, I do mean you. Let's see here. There's blood all over his lower abdominal area.
It looks like the bullet passed clean through his stomach area, sir.
In other words, he was shot.
Yup. And until the autopsy's done, I don't think we'll know much more than that.
Please have the body sent to the morgue once they're done processing the crime scene. I'd rather not just have it lying around in my office while I'm trying to work.
Are you going to be okay with keeping track of the evidence we find, sir?
Of course. This is the safest way I know to keep track of it all.
All right, if you say so.
I keep all the evidence I find either in or with my organizer. When I want to re-examine a piece, I have but to touch the organizer button. But the organizer isn't only for evidence. I keep people's profiles on hand, too. It's probably a good idea to make a habit of checking the facts often. The detective in the precinct and my victim. Well, the victim. Why was he killed in my office? Looks like it's done. I thought we might have a few like examine points, like his head, his hand, but it just seems like the body is the body. So, for lack of anything else to look at, well, actually, one thing first. Now that we've looked at the thing in front of him, does this guy say anything different? No, we don't. All right, what do we have? We have the killer's goal, signs of a struggle, detective's revolver, and victim was a detective. I think the easy thing to clear up here is that gun on the floor probably belonged to the victim. The revolver, the standard model used by detectives. Could it have belonged to our recently departed? Detective Gumshoe, could you please thoroughly check the victim's body one more time? I'll just be sneezing over here.
Yes, sir. On it now, sir. Excuse me, pal. Let's see. What do we got here? Mr. Edgeworth, sir. This guy's wearing a gun holster.
So it appears that our killer somehow managed to take the victim's gun from him. Victim's revolver data jotted down. Let's see what else we can find out about this revolver.
As I always say, you gotta look really carefully at every piece of evidence. You can use the scroll wheels to rotate an object. There's no such thing as a bad angle. Use the slide bar or the X and Y arrows to zoom in and out, get at the nitty-gritty.
We're practicing proper gun safety by looking down the barrel. It looks like only one round was fired from this.
Wow, so the killer killed the Vic with just one shot after wrestling the gun from him. Sounds like the guy knew how to handle a gun, huh, Mr. Edgeworth?
We have no proof for now, but that is a distinct possibility. I guess this is about all we're going to find out. We should send the body to autopsy.
Jim! Why, oh why? How could this have happened to a guy like you?
Are you all right?
Don't touch me! Leave me alone! Just leave me be!
Sorry, but I can't do that. The investigation is still ongoing, so please refrain from touching the body.
The body? The body? Don't talk about him like he's just some lump of flesh! Look at him. Jim looks like he's just turned in for the night.
Sure, just in a bloodstained suit, pal.
Where are my manners?
Aren't you that prosecutor?
Why, yes, I am. I'm Natalie Portman. Jacques Portsman. Prosecutor. Jim here was my partner in crime busting.
I'm Miles Edgeworth, and like you, I am also a prosecutor. Unlike you, my pet detective is alive.
Detective Dick Gumshoe, sir. I'm his pet.
So, you're Miles Edgeworth. I guess this is your office.
Yes, that is correct.
Then it was you! You're the one who killed Jim!
Hey, don't go around jumping to conclusions, pal. Just calm down, okay?
I will not. I know how things work around here. High prosecutor's office doors all have locks built into them. And only the owner of the office has the key to his or her own office door.
That is correct. However, I was not the one who killed your partner.
Yeah, Mr. Edgeworth has been overseas on a business trip this whole time, pal. And the key to the door was with me the entire... Ah, shit. So the only one who could get in here was me! Wait, that means... You know, I'm not sure what that means.
So it was you then? You're Jim's killer!
Hey, no way, pal! You got it all wrong!
Everyone calm down. Mr. Portsman, correct? If you are a real prosecutor, you should know how to stay collected. The investigation has only just begun. Isn't it too early to be drawing conclusions?
All right. I get the point. You're right. My mistake. I tend to get a little too hot-headed sometimes. You sure are one cool customer, though, Mr. Edgeworth. I've heard all the rumors about you. You're the great genius prosecutor. You're something of a legend, you know. Anyway, let's call a truce and work together, okay?
A high prosecutor with the prosecutor's office. It's my first time speaking with him.
Now, how about a handshake to seal the deal?
A pleasure to work with you.
You guys were conducting your investigation, right? Sorry for barging in like that. Carry on then, it's your room after all.
Thank you. I intend to.
I just want a little more time to say goodbye to Jim. You there!
Sir!
I want you to capture this scene on film for me. My final farewell to my partner, Jim.
I should probably give the showboat some space.
Called, sir.
I seem to have picked up a few good leads.
Oh, so now you're gonna do that thing you do with all that information, right?
What are you babbling about?
The brainy thing you were talking about just a few minutes ago, sir. Thinking. I mean logic. You said that you could look at all your leads and info by touching your logic button. Then you pick the pieces you want to connect by touching them together and hitting connect. That's your way of investigating, right, sir? Touching things?
Yes, which is why this exercise in explaining my own method to me was unnecessary.
Okay then, but what about the player who hasn't quite grasped the system yet? And also, how about I explain my logic to you next?
That is even more unnecessary.
But it's really funny.
No, it isn't.
I'm just a lowly detective, so I'm not sure what I should do with that other than to arrest it.
That's a dead body, detective. You don't arrest What? Is that the only talent you have? Oh, wait.
The victim's gun, huh? It's the same model as mine.
A tool used to protect lives, yet one that can also take lives away. Those who take a gun in hand wield a great responsibility. I hope you understand that.
I don't really use my gun at all, sir. The only time I would use this baby is when I'm fighting a hot duel with a convict to look ultra cool.
Oh, you were doing so well until that last bit. Mr. Portsman, a word, if I may.
Jim, I swear I'll find your killer and bring them to justice. You wait and see. It'll be for the both of us. Now then, you wanted to talk to me about something.
No, that's all right. I feel like I'm interrupting their conversation. How is it coming along?
Please, I need absolute silence. This picture is too important to mess up.
I'll leave the arrogant man to his art. Well, he's freed up this spot here.
Ah! Your jacket, sir! What's it doing on the floor?
It must have fallen off the wall when the killer tried to threaten me by firing a round.
So the killer not only shot the victim, but they shot your jacket as well? They dared to shoot the ultra-special jacket that you made your prosecutorial debut in? What if they'd shot through it? It would have been a disaster.
It's not worth getting worked up over, Detective, not when there's something more here.
Huh? Like what?
I take it you haven't noticed it yet, Detective. There is a giant contradiction here, right in front of us.
Really?
Did I say contradiction? He must be rubbing off on me. I'm starting to sound like him. But I have my own methods. I will conduct this investigation my way. When the scene before me contradicts a piece of evidence or seems off, that's when my deductive skills come into play. First, I have to find the spot that holds the contradiction. This is it. This bullet hole is where the contradiction lies. When I spot something that's off, I should touch the deduce button with conviction. And when I have found sufficient proof to prove the contradiction, I present it. That is how I do things. in the gayest fashion possible. I say as a positive. But the Eureka line, this is Edgeworth's... Basically, every character except Phoenix has a unique yell as you get further into this series. Like, Apollo has Gotcha. The Prosecutor in Dual Destinies has Silence. There's a guy in this game with his own one as well. But Edgeworth has... Eureka! And I honestly think it's a different actor, because, like, this was recorded a little later, but it sounds almost the same, but not quite. This bullet hole is the contradiction.
What do you mean, sir?
It's elementary, my dear Dick. 2 shots were fired in this room. The first felled the victim, and the second felled this frame.
Hey, that's right.
However, this gun was only fired once.
Hey, that's true too.
Which means that one of these 2 bullets was fired from a different gun. Did the killer have another gun prepared for tonight?
We don't know. By the way, I noticed something, sir.
Yes.
What's that thing sticking out from behind the frame?
Ah, that. It's a secret safe.
A secret safe? Ooh, I smell money.
I'll spare us the trouble and just say it. Nothing like what you're imagining is inside. Now, if you could kindly move this frame out of the way.
Roger that.
Achoo!
Achoo! Talk about dusty.
I suppose that's what happens when I'm not here to dust it once in a while.
I had no idea there was a safe here, or I'd have kept it clean for you, sir. So when did you put this thing in?
It wasn't something I had installed personally. Every prosecutor's office has one.
Really? I had no idea.
Well, only prosecutors are supposed to have knowledge of their existence.
So, what's inside, Mr. Edgeworth?
Right now, nothing. We only use them to solve especially important evidence when a trial is in session.
That's it? Talk about squashing my hopes and dreams.
Secret safe. But is the secret safe.
I never knew there was a safe hidden back here.
Well, if detectives knew about them, then they wouldn't be secret, would they?
Are there any other secret hidden things in this room?
Even if there were, it would defeat the purpose of them being hidden if I told you. So don't bother looking for them.
So there's no, like, hidden camera around, right?
What if there was?
No, it's nothing. Forget I said anything.
Do I even want to ask what he's been doing in my office while I've been away? Now this is odd.
You found something, sir?
This keypad, don't you find it to be a bit too clean?
Yeah, there's a thick layer of dust all around it, but not on the keypad itself.
You there, the forensic scientist.
Yes, sir?
Could you please dust this area for fingerprints?
You got it, sir. I couldn't find, let alone lift, a single print. Looks like it was wiped down well.
As I thought. It appears that logic is the only way around this setback. Time to rationally and calmly connect the dots with the information we have. Now, we don't know this guy's name. He keeps telling us to shut up.
I had no idea you had one of these things. I mean, I thought I knew everything there is to know about you, Mr. Edgeworth. I feel like I've caught a glimpse of the hidden side of Miles Edgeworth.
There's a great deal you don't know about me. At least I hope so. So, the killer's goal could have something to do with the wiped fingerprints. I believe I have figured out what the murderer was after.
Well, what is it, sir?
The fact that the safe was wiped clean of fingerprints suggests that the criminal had at least attempted to open my safe, making the culprit's motive for breaking and entering theft, I believe. I wonder if knowing that the motive behind this break-in was theft changes what the other pieces of information can tell me about this crime. I don't think the handgun's related, but it could be why the struggle happened. Because it's a police officer, so if the police officer found the thievery in progress, could have attacked. Well, attempted to arrest. There is a possibility that the files splayed on the floor are not the result of a struggle between the victim and his killer.
Oh. You mean like it could be from when the killer tried to find something, sir?
Precisely. We need to figure out if any of the files have been stolen.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna shelve files like you've never seen before, even in a library.
Sure, let's give that a try.
Why do all the good ones always die young? Surely you must ponder that every once in a while, Mr. Edgeworth.
No matter how much we lament, the dead will not come back to life. All we can do is search for the truth.
And? So what are we supposed to do? How do we go about finding the truth?
First, we calmly restore the files to their rightful place.
You got it. Here, let me help.
So this file goes here, and that book goes there.
You sure know a lot about where things go, despite it being Mr. Edgeworth's office.
Because I'm the one who keeps it tidy, pal. Okay, done.
It would appear that the murder was definitely committed here.
Ugh. The bloodstains on the bookshelf are still fresh.
I suspect that the victim was killed in a standing position, hence the prints on the shelf.
And then the guy fell onto the floor, right? Blood on the floor is kind of grossing me out.
Detective, I don't have the time to deal with your weak stomach right now.
But you know I'm no good with blood, sir.
I'm certain there's something wrong with this picture. Bloody handprints.
The victim's handprints.
He must have tried to support himself with his hands here after being shot.
The prints on the floor, too.
Those must have been made when, unable to stay standing, he dropped to the floor. Bigger stain as well. It appears that the victim was at a sitting position here after being shot.
Oh, so that's why the seat of the victim's pants has blood on it.
That would be the logical conclusion. Now we have top row of files.
I put them all back just as they should be, sir. Doesn't look like anything's missing.
Although it does look like the killer moved the body to flip through my shelves. I wonder if they found what they were looking for. Well, this one has a hole in it, and there's blood around the others in this section.
So this is where the bullet lodged itself after it went through the victim, huh?
For the bullet to be lodged so squarely in a file's spine indicates that the files were ransacked after the shooting had occurred.
And I guess the victim was moved because he was in the killer's way.
Yes, indeed. What do we have? Bullet went clean through the abdomen. How did he get those handprints in that position? Yeah, he'd be backwards. Holding like this, which means the shelf should be empty. Which means he should be shot and pushed back before the rather, after the ransacking, because the rest of his hand print should be there. Also, yeah, the bullet hole's there. If he was shot standing, wouldn't the bullet hole be like here? I'm not sure what we're supposed to do. There's a deduce button, actually. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold? Oh, no. No, not that spot. Well, maybe. Should it be the bullet hole or the blood? Or the handprints? Try the bullet hole because it's in such a strange position. Connected to, I guess, what we know about the crime scene. There you go. There is clearly a contradiction here with this bullet hole.
What do you mean, sir?
You don't see? Quite simply, the bullet hole itself is too low. If the victim was shot in the stomach, the hole should be much higher up.
But, what if the guy was shot while he was sitting or lying down, sir?
That would be illogical. The victim leaned against this shelf here after being shot, which suggests that he was standing when he was shot.
Then that means... Wait, what does that mean, sir?
It means you fucked up the filing system. No. It means you need to use your brain every once in a while instead of mine, detective. Jesus. In any case, it means someone made a faulty assumption. It was from this mistake that our current contradiction was born. What is the faulty assumption that caused this problem with the bullet hole's position? The order of the files, I would say. I believe the order of the files is a bit off.
You mean I put them back in the wrong order just now? Hey, actually, I think the labels on the files are wrong, sir.
Oh?
Yeah, you see here how the files that were shot begin with the number O? What are those doing all the way down there after 1, 2, and 3? That's really weird.
Actually, the way they are organized now is the correct order. They are exactly as I see them in my mind's eye.
But the numbers are all out of order.
Those white binders are special, so they are arranged a little differently. But from this, we know that the files were not in this order when the crime occurred. Aha! So that's it. I believe the killer made the same incorrect assumption as you just did, Detective. Let's rearrange the files in numerical order and see what we find out.
Do you think it'd be okay to prop the body back up to how it was before it was moved?
They've finished processing the crime scene, so I don't see why it wouldn't be. If you please, Detective Gumshoe. As I suspected. The bullet hole is now where it should logically be. The killer went through my files first before shooting Mr. Faith.
And then put the files back in numerical order, I guess.
Exactly, and then proceeded to shoot the victim.
Why would someone kill a man and then look through your files one more time?
Puzzling indeed. The files were thrown into disarray twice, once before and once after the crime. But why? Now the crime scene is as it was at the time of the murder. Time to give it another look. There must be some reason as to why the victim's body was moved, but there is no time to ponder that now. Let us continue with our investigation, Detective.
Roger that, sir. I'm raring to go. These handprints belong to the victim, right? It makes sense with the body position.
Yes, he must have left them when he was trying to support himself after he was shot. However, the final position of the body shows that it was moved. I need to go over this crime scene with a fine-toothed comb one more time. As I suspected, the bullet hole is now where it should logically be.
And we figured out that the killer went through your bookshelf twice.
Indeed. There are many things the killer did that don't make sense. But to figure out the whys, we need more information. This... Uh-oh. Does anybody else already know what that says?
What is that? Why does it say gumshoe on there in blood?
I'd say it's some incredibly incriminating evidence.
Yes, indicative of criminal activity indeed.
No, wait, there's gotta be some mistake! Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me! Say something, sir!
It appears that one of my files was stolen.
Is that all, sir? What about me and my situation?
Is this what the killer was really after? Investigation complete.
Looks like Jim was able to leave us the name of his killer in the end. And this most important message managed to reach us.
I'm telling you, it wasn't me!
You can't be terribly pleased to hear that your beloved partner is the guilty party.
If you are going to accuse Detective Gumshoe of being the culprit, I sincerely hope you have some proof to back it up.
Jim's words. They're more than enough, wouldn't you say?
If that's how you want to play it, then at least allow me to understand your reasoning.
You got it.
I don't like this one bit. There's something strange about this man's attitude. And there must be some sort of flaw to his logic waiting for me to dig out.
Mr. Edgeworth, what are you gonna do?
What I always do in court. I'm going to cross-examine him. One way or another, I'll expose the flaw in his logic with this technique.
Oh, how do you do that? Can you explain it to me, sir?
Oh, might as well. All right. First, I listen to the witness's testimony. If I find a flaw in that testimony, something that contradicts the evidence, I open the organizer and present the piece of contradictory evidence. To present something, I simply touch the present button, but that's old news.
But it's not like there's gonna be a flaw in the testimony every time, right?
Correct, and at those times I need to press the witness by touching the press button. That will summon a journalist. Sometimes by pressing, I can draw out new information and new or modified testimony.
I think I get it, sir. It's just like in that other game. I'll be sure to try this technique out during investigations, too.
Very well, I'll even show you how it's done. Now, watch carefully. Mr. Portsman's logic.
Detective Gumshoe. You stole Jim's gun from him and shot him dead. Further, you messed up the files to make it look like you had committed theft instead. That's when you moved Jim's body that was sitting in front of the bookshelf. But thanks to that, you didn't notice the bloody letters his body was hiding. And it will be by his final words that you will be brought to justice.
You intend to argue that the victim's dying message points to his killer.
I can hear Jim's voice, and he's calling for his killer's arrest.
This isn't Danganronpa. Are you sure you're not mishearing his words, Mr. Portsman? There is no way Detective Gumshoe is the culprit here. I will find the flaw in this man's logic and expose it with credible evidence.
Detective Gumshoe, who stole Jim's gun from him and shot him dead.
Hold it!
You know, there's something I've been meaning to ask.
What is it?
Why do you call the victim Jim, when clearly his name is Buddy Faith?
Isn't it obvious? Jim is the perfect name for my companion. Jock and Jim. Don't those two names go together like peanut butter and jam?
Jim isn't even close to the guy's real name.
Well, Jock and Buddy just sounds off somehow. Besides, he was the third of a bunch of guys I decided to nickname Jim.
He talks about the victim like he was his pet. Understandable, I suppose.
Further, you messed up the files to make it look like you had committed theft instead.
Hold it!
Do you really think it was necessary to dishevel my shelves twice to do that?
That's true. Okay, then maybe his real intent was theft.
Hey, are you accusing me of stealing something from Mr. Edgeworth?
It's a possibility. Maybe your salary's been cut so much that life is getting a little too rough to handle.
I'll have you know that I eat 3 square meals every day, pal. Okay, so all 3 of them happen to be instant noodles, but...
Poor thing. What an evil prosecutor you were paired up with. And what a motive, no? That's when you moved Jim's body that was sitting in front of the bookshelf.
Hold it!
And why would Detective Gumshoe do such a thing?
Because the body was getting in his way. He had to mess up your bookshelf somehow, right? Anyway. But thanks to that, you didn't notice the bloody letters his body was hiding.
Hold it!
Why do you think that the killer didn't notice the bloody letters?
The body was covering it quite well, wouldn't you say? That's how he missed it. But judging by what I've seen, it doesn't take much for your detective to miss something.
Who do you think you are? You know nothing about me, pal.
There's a lot a person can understand about one another from first impressions alone.
I can't say I disagree with him on that point.
Why don't you say something, sir?
Not you too, Mr. Edgeworth.
Despite his lack of attention to detail, I don't believe the detective to be the culprit. Nobody could have overlooked the bloody letters, and I can prove it. With evidence.
I couldn't ask for a better setup. For the game-finishing Spike. And it will be by his final words that you will be brought to justice.
Hold it!
Are you saying that those letters were intended for you?
Yup. Jim was an outstanding detective. I would expect no less from my former partner.
It looks like Mr. Portsman still doesn't understand. He has yet to figure out the true meaning behind the bloody letters.
What are you sputtering over there? Can't you just admit my logic is perfectly sound?
Actually, there's a gigantic flaw in his logic. A gap so wide that even the good detective can spot it. Now to clue Mr. Portsman in by presenting him with some evidence.
Is it about the gun? What do we have? We have our badge, we have the crime scene notes, which is, bullet through the abdomen, body found at 205. We have the gun only has 1 shot fired, so that's one option. The secret safe, the prints have been wiped. And we have the stolen file. One of the files that was written in blood was stolen by the culprit. So if you're arguing that you didn't notice the letters,
that he can't be the culprit because someone took the file, and that person has to have noticed the letters. Because they were there. Right? Unless he's arguing that you grabbed the file and didn't look at what was on it.
Objection!
Yeah. Perhaps you're not aware, Mr. Portsmouth, that there is a serious flaw in your logic.
Bringing a bit of the courtroom into this, I see. No problem. I'm game.
I can't help but find it odd.
Excuse me?
Odd that a fellow prosecutor would be brought down by the power of his own office.
What are you talking about? Oh, you're joking. I get it.
If you have the time to laugh, then you have the time to take another, closer look at this. Do you still not see? If not, may I direct your attention to the missing file?
What? That's impossible.
What's impossible? Mr. Port? Sorry, what's impossible, Mr. Portsmouth?
Nothing.
The files on that shelf are all about a certain case. When the killer went to take the file after murdering your partner, I highly doubt they could have missed the bloody letters written on the spines.
Objection!
It's possible that they could have taken the file before committing the murder.
I think it's pretty obvious that the file was stolen after it was written on. The missing letters in the detective's name where the file should be is proof.
Yeah, I mean, the S is gone and there's only half an H.
If Detective Gumshoe really was the culprit of this case, I highly doubt that even he could overlook his own name written in blood on the files. Especially as a detective who can't stand the sight of blood.
Ah! Which means... what exactly? What does that make this dying message?
Bullshit. Makes it bullshit. No, it makes it the work of a criminal intent on tampering with the crime scene.
That's so low! I can't believe the criminal tried to pin this whole thing on me, sir. I'm gonna get him, sir. You'll see. I'm gonna have him under arrest in no time.
Well, Mr. Portsman?
Brilliant. Absolutely splendid. Logic deserving of Olympic gold.
I appreciate the praise, but it doesn't change the fact that your reasoning is flawed.
Nah, you win some and you lose some. That's how life goes.
Glad everyone's so cheery, even though I feel more dead than alive.
Ah, but you know, it really is a shame. I really didn't want to have to bring this up. However...
What is it this time? Are you still after me, pal?
humor me for a second. Who has the key to this office?
That would be me. But Mr. Edgeworth just proved that I'm innocent, pal.
That's absolutely right, and I acknowledge your innocence.
Then why do I sense that you still have something to say? Or are you just going to flap your jacket back and forth until you create a gust?
Well, I was thinking. Did you know there is one other person with a key to this office?
One other person.
Hey, you there!
Yes, sir. What is it, sir?
Would you kindly fetch and escort that lovely young lady here for me?
Don't tell me Maya's getting accused of murder again. A lady?
The girl is a member of this building's security. Think of her as a material witness.
Security? Did you say security? No, stop it, pal. Don't!
Vaguely in the distance, just hear,
Whippersnapper!
What's wrong with him all of a sudden?
I believe she needs no introduction. I have called upon Ms. Maggie Bird, a member of security. Detective Gumshoe, sir.
Maggie! If it isn't Maya, it's you.
Miss Bird is the security guard on watch tonight.
I see. And your point is?
My point is that she could very well have used it. And by it, I mean the master key, which can open all the office doors in this building.
What?
If you are not the guilty party, Detective Gumshoe, then the only other person with access to this room is Miss Bird. How dare you! I would never sneak into someone's room!
That's right. I refuse to believe that Maggie's the culprit, pal. It was me. Oh, that's right. I did it.
Can we take that as a confession, Detective?
Well, it wasn't really me. But it definitely wasn't Maggie, pal. So yeah, it was me. If it was, you'd have no problems with that, right?
Please refrain from flying off the handle, Detective. There's no need for such theatrics.
Listen to your boss, Detective. He understands what I'm saying here. That girl is the only one who could have committed the crime, and for one simple reason.
Reason for suspicion.
We have the profile from Maggie now as well. Gumshoe knew her from when she was an officer. Now she works at nighttime security.
It's pretty obvious that Miss Bird snuck into your room using the master key. I mean, if Detective Gumshoe isn't the one who opened the door, then that leaves only Miss Bird as our prime suspect. On top of which, she knows our good detective, doesn't she? Making it all that more probable that she was the one who faked the dying message.
So you're saying she used the master key?
Now we have the master key.
Incredibly incriminating evidence, wouldn't you say?
It's the master key to every office in the building.
I don't really know why we're allowed to examine this in 3D detail, but we are. Check out those sick rise from the ashes mechanics. We have to get used to them because they're all throughout this game, the sequel, and Apollo Justice.
That's what you claimed about the evidence earlier as well.
That was then. This is now. The flow of a good match always changes during a rally. It's all about your reflexes and reaction time, especially for an athlete like me.
I wonder if there was anyone else other than Miss Bird who could have used the master key. It seems that the only way to get Mr. Portsman to give me more details is to press him.
It's pretty obvious that Miss Bird snuck into your room using the master key.
Hold it!
Are you sure Miss Bird is the only member of security who could have used the master key?
There's only one person on staff at this time of night. And tonight, she's in. Isn't that right, Miss Bird? That's, true, but I wasn't able to use the master key at the time of the crime, sir.
Wasn't able to? What's that supposed to mean?
Yes, moving on. I'd hate to get sidetracked by something unrelated.
What do you mean unrelated? I want to hear what she has to say, pal.
But you can't really trust her not to tell lies. Plus, I hate wasting time.
Should I hear Miss Bird out?
Yes?
Not so fast. I too am interested in hearing what Ms. Bird has to say.
Didn't I just say it'd be a waste of time? We don't need to hear her lies.
I'll be the judge of that. Ms. Bird, if you please.
I discovered that the master key was missing at around 1 a.m., sir.
What do you mean by missing?
As in, it wasn't anywhere in the security booth, sir. The killer must have stolen it.
Mr. Portsman, I believe this to be an important piece of testimony, don't you?
I can't believe that someone like you would be taken in by such words. I'm not lying, sir.
Objection!
If that's the case, then I'd like to know why you have the master key now. I don't quite know. It just reappeared all of a sudden, sir. Ha! A likely story. And where is your proof that the key was stolen to begin with? I bet you just forgot where you put it and then found it again. I never lose things! I can practically guarantee that! With me, if something disappears, it's usually because someone stole it.
Yeah, pal. Trust me, you don't want to test just how bad her luck is.
Unfortunately, I can't deem this piece of testimony as conclusive.
Glad you agree, Mr. Edgeworth.
But, you still haven't established Maggie's motives for breaking into Mr. Edgeworth's office.
Her motive? Didn't we already establish that it was theft? I mean, the culprit clearly went through the bookshelves and at least tried the safe.
It is as Mr. Portsman says, Detective. I can't ignore the fact that all the evidence points towards a motive of theft. But I'm done taking blows. It's time to counterattack with a few facts of my own.
Hold it!
Okay, Pressing. I concur that the culprit's motive appears to have been thievery. However,
Glad to hear that the great Miles Edgeworth is in agreement with little old me.
with regard to the investigation of the bookshelves and safe,
Hey, good thinking, asking for my opinion on the matter.
would it be too much for you to allow me to complete a full sentence?
Hold it!
I thought we had established Detective Gumshoe's innocence pretty thoroughly.
It was just a theory. A crime theory. Sorry. One hypothesis among the many possibilities. I mean, I had my doubts about Miss Bird from the very beginning.
If that's the case, then why didn't you mention her first?
Now, don't make that face. See? There goes the truth, running the other way. Let's pick up the pace and see if we can't catch up to it.
I don't think you're catching my drift.
Ah, but we are in agreement that the detective isn't the killer, right? If so, then I hope you'll understand when I say that since she is the only one who could have opened your office door, that leaves only Miss Bird as our prime suspect.
Hold it!
Don't you think it's a bit early to be jumping to conclusions?
Are you saying there's another way to open the door other than with the master key? Oh, I get it. Perhaps you had a spare made for someone else.
I'll have you know I have never made a spare, so what are you insinuating?
Nothing. Guess I should have known better than to suggest that someone like you would. On top of which, she knows our good detective, doesn't she?
Hold it!
Is there anyone in this district who hasn't at least heard of Detective Gumshoe? The man's famously incompetent.
Good point. He's practically a celebrity among us prosecutors.
Really? I never knew I was so talked about, sir.
We're holding our collective breath, you know. For when you screw up so badly that you're literally chased off the force.
Wait, what? Is that true, Mr. Edgeworth?
Of course not. That's hogwash.
Don't scare me like that. I almost had a heart attack there.
No,
no. See, they wouldn't chase you off the force. What they would do is lower your paycheck so much that you start owing us money, and then you become a revenue source.
Making it all that more probable that she was the one who faked the dying message.
Hold it!
By dying message, you mean the bloody letters that spell out gumshoe? Well, we said that the S was missing, so really it's gum-ho.
I figured that whoever wrote this name must have wanted to frame him. And just the act of choosing his name is proof enough that the two knew each other well.
Mr. Edgeworth, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and present some evidence!
I would love to. But first, we should listen a bit more and digest what he is saying. And press him for more information. So I think we created this sentence by pressing Maggie, or pressing for more details in this first one. So her intent is obviously thievery. Do we have anything that bothers that? Not the badge? I don't think the body helps. Don't know that the revolver helps. Each prosecutor has a secret safe. Only they know of them. Is that enough? Because, like, you could argue that Portsmouth is a prosecutor, so he knows that there's a safe in the, his office, so there'd be a safe in Edgeworth's. But Bird shouldn't know that. Gumho makes it more likely to be Maggie. Let's try this.
Objection!
Best I have. I'm not super sold on it. Do you wish to continue insisting that Miss Bird was set on stealing something?
Why not? It's the truth, after all. It was also by your logic that we came to the whole thievery conclusion anyway.
That may be, but you must also be aware of the fact that the safe is a secret safe. The existence of which is only privy to prosecutors.
Duh!
I find it a little hard to believe that a hidden safe was a part of her cunning plan.
But she could have found it by accident while she was turning everything else upside down.
I highly doubt that. I'd say the culprit knew exactly what they were looking for. After all, only the bookshelf and the safe were targeted.
Yeah, even I didn't know about that safe, pal. And that means there's no way Maggie could have known about it either.
Then are you proposing that the killer is a prosecutor?
Interesting conclusion. That's definitely looking more and more probable. What's wrong, prosecutor? Do you have a different suspect in mind now?
Curses! Why? What made you...
What's with the angry face all of a sudden?
It's all my fault!
What do you mean?
It's Jim. He knew about the existence of the secret safes.
What did you just say?
We were partners, like inseparable conjoined twins. That's why I told him. I filled him in on the secret safes.
Then that means...
Yeah, I know. I had only just told him too. Obviously, it was wrong of me to tell him. I still can't quite believe it, but the thief who broke into your room was probably Jim.
Now he's claiming that the victim was the thief.
And you were simply trying to stop him, weren't you? Miss Maggie Bird. Excuse me? Oh, I mean, you are a security guard, right? That's your job. But killing is going a bit too far, even in your risky position.
What the... You're still accusing Maggie of murder?
Yes and no. I mean, she had stumbled upon Jim, who had probably drawn his gun. I get it. It was self-defense, wasn't it? No, I couldn't. I could never do something like that, not even as a security guard, sir.
Plus, even if he was the thief, he wouldn't have a key to this office.
Which is precisely why he had to steal it, wouldn't you say? It was Jim who stole the master key. Pretty impossible for a supposedly stolen key to be here with us. Unless you retrieved it from Jim after you killed him.
Mr. Portsman, are you honestly accusing your own partner of being a thief?
I don't want to admit it, but it's the only way for everything else to make sense. Has he no honor? Now then, I think we're done here. The investigation waits for no man. Would you people be so kind as to see yourselves the fuck out?
You can't kick us out. This is Mr. Edgeworth's office.
Ah, but I'm the one who's been assigned to this case. You are all suspects to varying degrees and therefore ineligible to run this show.
Listen, pal. How many times do I have to say this? Maggie can't be the culprit.
Detective Gumshoe, calm yourself.
But, sir...
We have no choice but to accommodate his request. For now.
Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. At least one of you understands. Now then, if you could remove yourselves from my crime scene, I'd be most grateful.
Mark my words, Mr. Portsman, we will meet again.
If that's a formal request from the legendary prosecutor himself, then I suppose so. Now don't disappoint me, you hear?
To be continued. Blip, bloop, blip, bloop. March 14, 4:18 a.m. Prosecutor's Building, 12th floor hallway.
What is with that prosecutor? I can't believe how rude he was. It was unbelievable.
Please maintain your professionalism, Detective.
I'm gonna find some real solid evidence proving Maggie's innocence. You'll see, sir.
But we've been kicked out of the crime scene, sir.
True. So then what now?
Looks like my life's fallen into yet another gigantic ditch.
Do not despair, Miss Bird. We can overcome this as well. There are many other places and things we should be looking into anyway.
Eh? Really, sir?
For example, this hallway. The linchpin of his argument against Miss Bird is related to the master key. In that case, this hallway is the perfect place to look for more information regarding the mystery surrounding the door. 12th floor hallway. It's not a huge area, really.
Yes, sir.
Detective Gumshoe, you look rather intrigued by something. Care to share?
Oh, it's nothing, but I noticed that Mr. Portsman calls his partner Jim. And the detective in that Sunday night drama, All My Cops, is named Jim too. I bet one of them is a big fan of that show.
You seem to know a little something about it yourself. I take it you watch it too.
Of course. The tight bond of friendship between prosecutor and detective is great, sir. But it's nothing compared to the super strong friendship we have. Ho, ho, ho.
Friendship, Detective. I think you're mistaking it for pity.
How can you say that, sir? And after all we've been through, too.
How about Miss Bird?
No way she's the killer. Please don't tell me you buy into that accusation, sir.
Rest assured, I think she's innocent. However, I need to ask her a few things regarding her security guard position.
Well, if you're only asking, that's okay. Just stand next to her and then touch the talk button. And you two can talk about whatever the topic you pick. When you want to ask her about evidence, all you have to do is present it. After you choose what to show her, touch present again, and off the two go. I recommend showing different people different things. You'll be surprised by what they say.
Thank you for the explanation, though I don't recall asking for one.
Why, it's just, with the attitude that you display on a daily basis, I thought you might need some coaching on how to talk to people, sir.
Detective, was that a burn?
What? can occasionally have a good line.
If anything, I'm impressed.
Oh, just so you know, sir, you can show me evidence in the same way, too.
I do believe it's time to get down to business and defeat the Huns. Ask some questions of Miss Bird.
Ignored again. I'm just a lowly detective.
He wants to arrest the key. He wants to arrest the stolen file. We can't go this way. We can have a lie down, though. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. A well-crafted, high-quality sofa for visitors. The stitching is excellent.
Talk about a luxury waiting area. These babies are also great for napping, you know.
You would sleep even out here, Detective? In a hallway?
Whenever I do, I always wind up dreaming about giving testimony up on the stand. But it always ends the same way. Me getting trounced by a lawyer. Isn't that awful?
Maybe I should give it a try sometime. To envision myself winning, naturally. It's...
Ah! Isn't this that missing O-Series file, sir?
No doubt about it. The bloody letters mark it clear as day. There seem to be a few pages missing. Our thief took only what was necessary and left the rest behind.
So what are these O files about, sir? I guess they got something worth stealing in them, huh?
Not particularly. It's just a collection of court case files. However, the cases within these files are not mine.
Huh?
They belong to the High Prosecutor that used to occupy my current office. I have my reasons, but let's just say I was charged with keeping them as they were.
And that means the thief must have also wanted the file for a specific reason, right?
It would seem so. Only the pages related to that case from 10 years ago are missing.
I wonder why anyone would care about such an old case.
Yes, old cases from 10 to 15 years ago are never relevant in the Ace Attorney series. We are always constantly looking forward. Flashbacks and childhood traumas are a gauche, unnecessary plot point, and we should never allow them to take place. We got Maggie here. We have a bowl. Another door. This office.
1203. 1203. Hey, Maggie, whose room is this again?
It's Mr. Portsman's, sir.
So he's my new neighbor, I see. I suppose he moved in while I was away overseas. Is there a 1201? There is, but we can't quite reach it. Hello. You look familiar.
It looks like you're in quite the pinch, Mr. Edgeworth.
Mr. Payne. To be sure, a murder within the walls of the prosecutor's office is no trifling matter. You must find, apprehend, and punish the killer accordingly. Post haste.
Sounds like a messy case you've got on your hands. If you ever feel lost or need some advice, my door is always open.
How gracious. I will keep your offer in mind in case I ever hit rock bottom. Who is this man again? Is everything all right?
Yes, sir. If you must know, I weighed myself this morning and I'm finally at 154 pounds.
Congratulations, but I was talking about this hallway and this room.
Oh, everything's okay, sir.
A word of advice, stay focused or you may start to lose even more weight. Mostly out of your wallet.
I mean, it is pain. Yes.
What is a basketball hoop doing here?
Hey, didn't this used to be just outside next to the building a long time ago?
So when and why was it moved indoors?
I don't remember exactly, but I saw one of the officers drag it up here recently.
Drag it?
I heard that it wouldn't fit in the elevator, so the poor bastard had to bring it himself.
All the way up to the 12th floor? What is a basketball doing here?
That's Mr. Portsman's prized possession, sir. You should kick it. I heard he also plays soccer, dodgeball, and even tennis.
And not a single one of those sports is suitable to be played in a hallway.
What sport is?
Hallway golf. I was wondering if I may speak with you for a bit concerning this case.
I've always been a big fan of the courtroom, but this is like a dream. A dream where I'm being cross-examined by D. Miles Edgeworth.
I can't let this chance pass me by. I must remember to ask her about the master key. I should jog her memory by showing my notes to her through the present button. Yeah, I think this is the first time she's met Edgeworth, because she was in 2-1 and 3-3, and neither of those were Edgeworth cases. Ugh. Have you ever met the victim before?
Well, I've seen him a couple of times before when I had to go to Mr. Portsman's office. Mr. Faith was always playing basketball with Mr. Portsman, sir.
That sounds like fun. Just once I'd have loved to play with them.
It sounds fun, but the only person ever taking a shot was Mr. Portsman. All Mr. Faith ever did was pass him the ball, sir.
On second thought, I don't think I'd have fit in all that well with them.
Miss Maggie Bird, correct? I take it that you are an acquaintance of the detective?
She was under my supervision back when she was still on the force, sir. One day she got caught up in a murder and things started going downhill, so she quit.
But I owe a lot to Detective Gumshoe for introducing me to my current employer. Or so I thought until a few hours ago. Right before I was about to clock out for the night.
You got caught up in this whirlwind of a case, correct?
Don't worry, my whole life has been nothing but whirlwind of bad luck and failures. You know, this is the third murder I've been accused of. Since I was 6 months old when I fell from the 9th floor of my apartment building, I've been hit by all sorts of vehicles, gotten sick from all sorts of foods, failed at almost every test I've taken, experienced almost every kind of disaster. And now I even managed to be named a criminal just when I become a security guard.
That's a lot to go through in one lifetime.
I know! And just when I thought I'd finally found my happiness, I was gonna go on a big vacation to China next March.
Please note, this case takes place in March 2019.
I wind up getting you and Detective Gumshoe involved in my bad luck.
You don't need to worry about me, Miss Bird, nor do you need to worry about yourself. I will solve this case and prove your innocence. All I ask in return is for your cooperation.
Yes, sir, Mr. Edgeworth. You can count on me. I'll do all I can to help.
Which isn't very much. But we'll still present everything to you, and one of them matters, I believe.
That's a prosecutor's badge, isn't it? It proves that you're really a prosecutor.
Interesting. Despite all appearances, she seems to know more than Gumshoe.
With that badge, even I could be a professional prosecutor. Sir, may I please try that on? Just for a little bit?
I don't think that would be a very good idea, do you?
I guess not.
On second thought, they're actually on the same level. I ship it.
I'm just a lowly security guard, so I'm not sure what I should do with that other than to guard it.
Oh, it's like talking to another Gumshoe. So when did you discover that the master key was missing?
By the time I realized it, I think it was around 1 a.m., sir. And I noticed it was back at around 2:30. It was just sitting there on the ledge where the security room's reception window is. But I'm sure that between those two times it was not just gone, but stolen, sir.
Why is such an important key stored in such an insecure place, and with such an insecure person?
It's not like that, sir. We always keep the key further inside the room, away from the window.
Always, you say? Except for this time, correct?
Well, I admit that was a bit careless, but I had my reasons. I left it out because I was sort of using it at the time. It was after I'd used it that I left it sitting out on the ledge.
She used the master key. For what? Don't tell me it was to murder a dude. What did you mean by you used the master key?
Oh, I had to use it to open the door for this prosecutor who had forgotten his key. I mean, it's my job as a security guard, right? Ah!
What is it?
That's right! I just remembered! The prosecutor who forgot his key! It was the only other one here, sir! Mr. Portsman!
What? Please tell me more, Miss Bird, quickly.
Excuse me, Miss Bird, Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Portsman is not the only other prosecutor here. There is, in fact, a third.
Really? And who would that be?
It was around 12 a.m. Mr. Portsman had forgotten his office key, so he came down to security, sir.
And that's when you loaned the master key to him.
No way! It's against regulations to loan the master key out to anyone. I walked with Mr. Portsman to his office and opened the door for him personally, sir.
I see.
And then? What happened after that?
Well, he called for me to come close up his office as he was leaving to go home. That was around 1:30 a.m., I think.
So in summary, for the sake of one forgetful prosecutor, you used the master key twice tonight.
Talk about suspicious.
A little bit. I doubt you can say that you've never left your keys at home, Detective. I think this calls for a thorough examination of Mr. Portsman's door. Room 1203. I take it that this is Mr. Portsman's office.
Yeah, you can't mistake it because of that basketball hoops, sir. Oh, that reminds me, Mr. Portsman had actually wanted room 1202 really badly. But since you were already occupying it, Mr. Edgeworth, we put him next door, sir.
So why was Mr. Portsman so particular about getting 1202?
I'm not sure, but I bet it's because of something like his birthday is December 2nd.
Yup, that's gotta be it. I can't think of another reason why.
I can think of at least 3. Why am I even wasting time thinking about this?
It's Mr. Portsman's personal basketball hoop.
I can't believe he put something like this in a hallway of a prosecutor's office.
But, you know, it's actually pretty useful, sir. I haven't gotten lost trying to get to your office since it's been here.
How long have I had the same office, and yet you still manage to get lost? The door is locked tight.
I bet the old credit card trick wouldn't work here, huh, Mr. Edgeworth?
This is the office of a high prosecutor, Detective. These doors would be pretty ineffective if the average cat burglar could get through them.
Ah, so I guess only a great cat burglar could get in. That must be who our culprit is.
Might I advise you to return that conclusion to whatever pawn shop you brought it from? A minimalist yet classy door made of top quality wood.
It's kind of majestic, too. Fits in real well with the ambiance of the prosecutor's offices. Even Mr. Portsman seems dignified just because he works behind one of these.
Nonsense. A man doesn't become more or less dignified because of where he works.
Well, he still seems more dignified than Mr. Payne.
Mr. Payne. I suppose custodial work can also be dignified.
I think I've looked at everything. So what do we have? We have files in disarray.
The master key was stolen from 1 a.m. to 2:30. This key was used to unlock and lock Portsman's office at 12 a.m. and at 1:30. Herpader! Miss Bird, I'm afraid there's a flaw in your story.
What? No way, pal. I mean, sir.
You said that you locked up Mr. Portsman's office at around 1:30 a.m., correct? However, the master key had already been stolen at that time.
Wow. Nothing gets by you, Mr. Edgeworth. You saw that contradiction like a pro. I had totally forgot all about that, but thanks to you, I remember it now. You're right. It was around that very time that I realized the master key was missing.
And?
Well, I'm a security guard, sir. I couldn't just admit to losing the master key, could I? So I pretended to lock up his room, sir.
You pretended?
Yeah? I used my house key and made it look like I was locking up, sir.
So in actuality, you never did re-lock the door, then?
Well, I thought that maybe I could go lock it after I found the key. Come to think of it, I guess the door still hasn't been locked.
Miss Bird unlocked the door, but the master key was stolen, so she could not lock it up. The door is locked tight. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold? Yeah, it is, I think. There's a contradiction here between reality and the evidence. If what Ms. Bird has said is true, then why is the door locked tight?
Huh? You know, you're right.
Ms. Bird, are you sure you didn't relock this door?
I am certain of it, sir. And I don't think Mr. Portsman noticed it himself that I hadn't.
Which means... what, sir?
It either means that he actually does have the key to his office, or that the door Ms. Bird opened wasn't this one at all, but a completely different one.
She opened a different door? How can you prove that?
Well, there's an easy way to find out. All we need to do is... well, we need to examine these. We need to see if Maggie Bird's prints are on this doorknob. The prints on the doorknob will tell us everything.
Hey, you! Yeah, you, pal! Do us a favor and see what you're gonna lift from this, okay? So, what did you find out?
There's no need for such belligerent, nostril-flaring detective.
Sir, I have found only Mr. Portsman and Mr. Faith's prints on this doorknob.
So only two people's prints were found on this, huh? That's pretty decisive.
I'm lost, sir.
Thinking logically, a certain other person's prints should be on this knob as well. Now then, whose prints should also be on this doorknob?
Yours, you murderer. No.
Take that!
Don't you find it odd that the prints of the person who unlocked this door are absent?
You mean...
Yes, the door that Miss Bird opened could not have been this one, but a different one. What have we here? Oh, of course, there's a note there, and it's been there the whole time. Is this basketball property of Mr. Portsman?
Yes, sir. He's always ready for a match.
basketball, soccer, dodgeball, tennis. It doesn't matter what sport it is, he's game. Although I think it'd be a little hard to play tennis with this ball.
That isn't the point you should be focusing on, Detective.
You're right, sir. Now what? Now I know what I should be focusing on. bad, Mr. Portsman. Someone should teach him to clean his toys up after he's done playing.
I think we've reached the end of this conversation. What's this?
What are you looking at, sir? Oh, hey, how about a game?
That's okay, Detective. I just found the position of this hoop to be a little off.
Hey, you're right, sir. I guess it shifted when someone made a seriously sweet slam dunk.
The positioning of the hoop is definitely unnatural. I'd better take note of this. Yeah, you can see that there's an indent for where it normally sits, and it's not in the indent. This is because it's been moved to Edgeworth's door to make Edgeworth's door look like Portsman's door, so that Maggie could be tricked into unlocking it. What is this?
Looks like a scrap of paper. I'll get it, sir. Let's see. Ah, there's something written on it.
It looks like a note from the victim. I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by, just like we talked about on the phone. It looks like you're out. Guess I'll catch up to you later, buddy.
Yeah, and it's for Mr. Portsman.
Curious. I think that's everything we can get from here, though. I was wondering about the investigation.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. Let a real seasoned pro teach you how it's done.
A real seasoned pro? Of instant noodle cuisine, perhaps?
You know that you can always check out the really important spots in more detail, right?
Yes.
And if the area is too big, you can always use the arrow buttons at the bottom, right? Oh, but don't worry, sir. The arrows only show up when you need to use them to see more.
I knew that as well.
And when you think there's a contradiction or something unusual, try deduction. First, you line up your cursor with the suspicious-looking area. Then touch the deuce and choose your poison. Evidence. When you settled on a piece, you gotta present it.
I'm pretty sure I already knew all of that as well, Detective.
Well, if you can remember all that, then welcome to the world of pros. IW, Ace Investigator. Class dismissed.
And all I wanted was an update about the investigation. Nothing to say about the note.
Hey, I love basketball. I play all the time when I'm off duty.
Interesting.
You should see me dribbling, faking, and weaving like a pro with my trusty coat on, sir. They call me the Green Supernova.
He wears that tattered rag of a jacket even on his days off. Oh, fucking hell.
I've had to open Mr. Portsman's office up for him a number of times before. I've also had the chance to see the inside of his office on a number of occasions, too. He's got shelves upon shelves of sports memorabilia, trophies, and awards in it. To the point where it's almost beyond gaudy, sir. But maybe I just feel that way because I'm jealous, since I don't have even a single one?
Don't say that, Maggie. I'll make a special Guide of the Month award just for you.
Thanks for trying, but I've already got a mountain of consolation prizes, sir. They're proof of just how unbelievably unlucky my life has been. Plus, getting an award from you just isn't the same as getting a real award, sir.
Now what? Can we go back in? No, but we can look at my door as well. Okay. 1202. These 4 numbers on a number plate alone proclaim this to be my office.
Whoops! Hey, these number plates slide right out, sir.
They have to be able to take the plate off when a room becomes vacant, you know. Although, the idea that it can be so easily removed is kind of... It's a bit stupid because the number shouldn't change. The numerical ordering of the rooms is based on the position of the room, so you should not have a slidable number plate for the number. What you should have is a slidable nameplate for the occupant, because the occupant can change whenever somebody is promoted, demoted, or just shifted around. A minimalist yet classy door made of top quality wood. Okay, so this isn't the same dialogue as the other room's door. It's sturdily... Oops. Hold on. It's sturdily made, making it near impossible to break in by force.
It's almost majestic, sir. I wish I could be as stately as this door.
Only Gumshoe would praise a door as something greater than himself. Being a detective has its own rewards, and a certain virtuous value, I think. If you live up to your full potential, that is a poignant trait that anyone could admire.
I see. So you're saying, sir, that me being me is the best thing I can do for everyone?
Right.
That long pause wasn't exactly reassuring, sir.
I don't see any signs of forced entry.
According to the guard, no signs of the lock was picked either, sir.
Meaning that the door really was opened with a key. Did you happen to ask if any prints were lifted from my doorknob?
Apparently the doorknob's clean as a whistle. Wiped, they think.
Whoever this thief is, they did a good job of not leaving any clues behind. Oh, we're done. Poking around in this hallway has actually paid off quite handsomely.
Huh? How so, sir?
In a variety of different ways. I think it's time we had a little chat with the real culprit of this case.
You know who the killer is? Wow, Mr. Edgeworth.
As long as my logic is sound, then yes. The mastermind behind this murder is none other than Mr. Portsman.
What? Mr. Portsman?
I know it! That's exactly what my logic senses were telling me, too. Also, I was watching the opening cinematic and saw him with a gun in his hand next to a body. I suspected it was him from the instant he accused Maggie of being the killer, sir.
That is anything but logical. Lady and gentleman, prepare yourselves. Come what may, it's time to knock on truth's door. "5:12 a.m. Mr. Portsman, I finished processing the bloody letter, sir.
All right. Let me take a gander at it. Pass it here. Oh, looking good. You there, take good care of this. Well, if it isn't Detective Dickshoe. Sorry, Gumshoe.
End of the line for you, Portsman. We got you now.
Call off your dog, Mr. Edgeworth. Is this some kind of joke?
It's no joke. We know, Mr. Jacques Portsman, that you are the guilty party in this case.
You must be pretty upset getting chased out of your own room. I'd be mad too. So I guess you can stay, if you promise to stay out of the way.
You intend to hide your crime under the guise of a prosecutor doing his job. I can see right through the unsightly, paper-thin mask you wear upon your cowl.
Who'd have ever thought it would come to this? Actually, come to think of it, your mentor was Manfred von Karma, right? The legendary prosecutor who never lost a single case for 40 long years. But there was always this incessant chatter about forged evidence with that guy. Really teaches me that I've got to stay on the lookout for false accusations, you know?
Are you done trying to play mind games with me? Because they won't work. The only thing you should be using is that mouth of yours for now. The only thing you should be using that mouth of yours for now is explaining yourself. Or blowing me. Although that too will only dig your hole deeper. Either way, your game is up.
Well, aren't we full of ourselves? Even though you have yet to prove anything.
Mr. Portsman's rebuttal.
I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in mind, but there's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. Besides, how, may I ask, do you propose I unlocked your door and got in here? Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I've got work to do, so we're done here.
Sorry, but we are not finished yet.
Boy, you're stubborn. I suppose you're basing your accusations on something?
I'll show you what I'm basing my accusation on. With evidence.
I have no idea what sort of half-brained idea you have in mind, but...
Hold it!
My accusation is a harebrained idea, is it?
You tell me. I'd say it is, after all. There's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit.
Hold it!
Oh, and what, pray tell, kind of evidence are we talking about here?
Jim was my partner, so you can't say I had a motive for killing him.
And? That's it? That's not even an anthill, let alone a mountain.
But it's more than enough, wouldn't you agree?
Might I recommend that you review what the word evidence means?
It doesn't change the fact that the evidence doesn't point to me as the killer. Besides, how, may I ask, do you propose I unlocked the door and got in here?
Hold it!
Unfortunately, I believe I have already shown how earlier.
Your speculations mean nothing, as I still insist that I could not gain access to your room.
What should I do now? Should I raise an objection? Not yet. Let's press the other statement first. I need to gather a bit more information.
What's wrong? Don't tell me all you wanted to do was find fault with my flawless logic. Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I've got work to do, so we're done here.
Hold it!
I don't think so.
Oh? And why's that?
Because there is a flaw in your reasoning.
Are you calling me a liar? So, where's your proof? Saying evidence is everything isn't limited to just the courtroom, you know.
You need not remind me. I'll show you all the evidence you want in time.
Hold it!
Objection! You claim to have had no way to open my door. However, is that really the honest truth?
All right, I'll humor you. Go ahead, shoot.
Just like you did. Very well, then. I propose that you used this to open my door. We can't present Maggie, so let's present the cake.
Take that!
I believe you were able to open my office door with the master key, no less.
Objection!
Wait. Hold on for a sec. I never laid a finger on that key, as you already know.
Precisely. You were able to open my door without lifting a single finger. Well, maybe you did, but only to direct... Sorry, maybe you did, but only to direct... That's right. You used your finger to direct this person to open my door with the key.
Take that!
You had asked Miss Bird to open your own office door for you, yes?
Yeah, I kind of forgot my key at home. Happens a bit too often for my taste, you know.
But the room that you had Miss Bird open at that time was not your own, was it?
What? You have quite the imagination. But why don't we ask the girl herself whose door she opened, shall we? I'm certain that it was Mr. Portsman's door, sir. I checked the number plate to make sure I was opening the right door, sir. See, Miss Bird backs up my story.
Yet what if you had misled her to fool her into thinking what you wanted?
And how do you suppose I do that?
By switching the number plates on our doors, for example.
That's right! They do slide out pretty easily.
Furthermore, you then used one other thing to give a very strong impression. That the door she was opening was yours and not, in fact, mine. What was it that Mr. Portsman used to make Miss Bird think that it was his room?
Take that!
What? That basketball hoop, sir.
It's quite the peculiar fixture in any hallway, let alone a hallway in this building. Which is why it left an unusually strong impression on you. It's an object perfectly suited to sit just outside the office of a peculiar prosecutor.
Ah! That's very true, sir. Because there was a basketball hoop sitting there. I thought the door I was opening had to be Mr. Portsman's.
There are signs that the hoop had been moved. To sit it in front of my office, to be sure.
I see. So that's how you throw suspicion on people. Thanks for the tip. But I think your conjecture is a little off the racetrack.
Conjecture's rebuttal.
Now you're just spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. You don't have a single reason to suspect me.
So he intends to claim his innocence to the end, does he?
I'm as pure and innocent as my jacket. Miss Bird is as dirty and guilty as the jacket she wears. My jacket's not dirty, I'll have you know. I just washed it yesterday.
Please, calm down. For I intend to show who is the one truly covered in slime here.
Now you're just spouting nonsense.
Hold it!
Nonsense, you say?
Yes, because I'm telling the truth here.
Hold it!
I had the girl open my office door.
Using the master key, of course.
Sure. You have a problem with that? That is what the master key is for, right?
Perhaps we should place it in an elaborate labyrinth of some sort for people like you.
After that, I was in my room the entire time.
Hold it!
And what were you doing in your office?
I was doing my usual training regimen.
Training regiment? Were you going through your law books from start to finish?
Mainly batting practice and some weights. Oh, and I jog when I get the chance.
Wow, you must be the buffest prosecutor we have.
With the weakest legal muscles, it would seem.
I was doing my usual workout, so... You don't have a single reason to suspect me.
Hold it!
I think I've given you quite a few reasons, actually.
Objection!
But none of those would stand up on their own.
Objection!
And what about all the evidence?
Objection!
It's all circumstantial. No judge would convict on such flimsy evidence.
He seems to be trembling a little. One more little push. All I have to do is find the flaw in his testimony. I had her open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. It could be the lack of fingerprints on his office door.
Objection!
There we go. I had your door dusted for prints.
My door? What for? Come on, I bet you didn't find anything. You sure are good at wasting time.
You're right. I didn't find anything. Definitely not Miss Bird's fingerprints.
Her prints? What do they have to do with anything?
Let's put it this way. If she really was the one who opened your door... First instance of lying coldly, by the way. The one thing this game does better than its sequel is music. There's a bunch of music in this game that I remember very well. This is one of them. There's another one that's the theme song of a character from later. Both of which I use as my starting music occasionally. But I don't use anything from Investigations 2. The music is okay there, it's just not as good. Let's put it this way. If she really was the one who opened your door, then her prints should naturally be on the doorknob she touched. Ah! Further, all of the prints on my office door's knob have been wiped clean off. I can only assume it's because Miss Bird's fingerprints were on it.
Objection!
But it doesn't change the fact that I was in my room the entire time.
Is that really a fact? Or is it fiction?
Hey, would I lie to you?
I have here proof that you were not in your room the entire time as you claim. Do I? Nothing to do with him. 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 Nothing provably to do with him. It could be the fact that the door was locked, but I don't think it's going to be the same evidence twice. Found under the door for the absent Portsman. I wouldn't have thought this would count, but I guess if it implies he was absent.
Take that!
This is a note that the victim left for you, Mr. Portsman.
A note?
It was left under your door. Or did you not notice? And right here it says, "But you're out." You were not in your room when the victim came to call on you. So then, where were you? And what were you doing? Duh! Don't you think it's time you gave up your charade? We know you stole into my office with the intent of stealing something from me. And Detective Faith found you out. Possibly because he heard sounds coming from a room whose occupant was on leave. Mr. Portsman, you killed Mr. Faith to silence him. And I had the misfortune to return when I did. You had to threaten me as you escaped. As I said when you had the gun to my back, no one gets away with committing murder in my office.
And just what's so funny, pal?
Well, that look of stiff seriousness on the face of this office's finest prosecutor, as he makes a huge mistake in accusing me, is simply too much to bear. There's just nothing else like it in the world.
What?
Mr. Edgeworth just explained it all, and he even backed it up. You're the murderer. Stop trying to be slippery and just admit to the crime already.
And as I said earlier, it's all so circumstantial, so full of conjecture. You say you checked my doorknob for prints? Well, I can readily confess that I had wiped that knob down well.
Huh?
I'm a little obsessive-compulsive, you see. I didn't want to touch a doorknob that you had touched, which is why I wiped the knob down as soon as I could after you opened the door. After that, it makes perfect sense that only Jim's and my own prints would be on there.
You made that up just now, didn't you?
Furthermore, as for the note that Jim left for me, do you know exactly when that was? For all we know, he could have left it there before I arrived at the office. Like early evening, for example.
Are you saying you failed to notice a note in your doorway?
Hey, even geniuses fail at times. I was probably too preoccupied by work-related matters. Although that's no excuse. That's just a flat-out lie! There's no way you didn't notice a note that size! But you can't prove that, can you? Say something, Mr. Edgeworth! Back me up here, sir!
Portsman makes a good point. I can't prove that he didn't simply overlook it.
Besides, I have an airtight alibi.
Airtight, you say?
I only realized that I had one just now as we were talking. I guess it would have been better for all of us if I had told you sooner.
Portsman's alibi.
If memory serves, you came back to this office at around 2 a.m., correct? And it was then that you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. But at exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Ask around. I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It's the perfect alibi.
Do you really think it's that perfect?
Like I said, I don't care. Ask around all you like. You'll see for yourself.
There's an explanation that works here. Detective Gumshoe.
Sir, yes, sir. Now I'll go check out his alibi, sir. Be right back. Mr. Edgeworth, sir, I think we're in trouble. It's just like Mr. Portsman said. The guys down in criminal affairs said they saw him at around 2 a.m.
You see?
All of the evidence points to him being the culprit. So there must be a contradictory point in his alibi somewhere.
If memory serves, you came back to this office at around 2 a.m., correct?
Hold it!
You are correct. It was around 2 a.m.
Are you sure? It's really important to me that you're spot on with the time.
I remember checking my watch then, and make no mistake, it was 2.
Oh, giving testimony like a pro! Okay, so you came back to your office at 2. And it was then that you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit.
Hold it!
It is as you say. However,
Yes, however, you were the only one who claims to have bumped into the culprit. So tell me, did you see the person's face? Was it me who you saw?
it was pitch black, so no, I couldn't actually see.
Objection!
Oh, come now, I'm sure you saw something. Try a little harder, why don't you?
I'm beginning to feel like I'm the one being interrogated here.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter if you remember or not. It only matters that you ran into the culprit. But at exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs.
Hold it!
So you paid the Criminal Affairs Department a visit? Possibly a bribe.
Yup. Right after I left the prosecutor's building, I headed straight for the precinct. Ask around. I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It's the perfect alibi.
Hold it!
Well, we did go and ask around to confirm your testimony.
And it was just as I said, right?
Yes, sir. A number of detectives said that they saw you at around that time.
See? I have the perfect alibi. That's the ace I had up my sleeve.
Ah! Impossible! He actually does have the perfect alibi!
What's wrong? Why the sudden sullen look on your face?
Can't you say anything back, Mr. Edgeworth?
I think we've reached the end of the line and it's time to get off this crazy train. You there!
Sir!
Please escort the young lady out. But remember, be gentle.
Maggie!
Detective Gumshoe!
Is there Nothing I can do. There must be a way to turn the situation around. If I only had a clue. Did I miss something that can help me cast doubt on his alibi? I need to calmly think this through one more time, and with logic. We have a second gun. What we know is that there was a gun at the scene of the crime with a bullet missing and a dead man. There was a second bullet hole that we know was fired by the person that held us up, because they fired it while we were there. So why two guns? More specifically, why would the person who held us up drop their gun when they ran away? They wouldn't. They'd take it with them. They weren't Portsmouth. That doesn't exonerate Portsmouth. Think about it. They had no problem showing us his face in the opening, so why would they hide his face? You could say it was, you know, to indicate that Edgeworth doesn't see. And that's a good reason, but it's not the only reason. It's also to mislead us. There were 2 bullets left at the scene of the crime. One that robbed Mr. Faith of his life. And one that nearly robbed me of my jacket. However, the murder weapon only shows signs of being fired once, meaning that it is entirely possible that a second gun was used in my office tonight. But seeing as how the killer had to steal Mr. Faith's gun, I doubt the killer had another gun up their sleeve. Therefore, the second gun could have been property of an entirely different person, which could mean that there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. Which is why the files were looked through twice. Supposing there was yet another visitor tonight, that would also resolve the issue of why my shelves were upended twice. We know that the shelves were disturbed once before and once after the murder, so it shouldn't be much of a stretch to think that it was the work of 2 different people. Once by the person who stole the victim's gun and then killed him with it, and once again by the after the murder by our second culprit, who was the owner of the second gun. If we suppose that the second culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back...
Objection!
Mr. Portsman, it seems that I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case.
Great. So you've finally come to your senses.
Mr. Edgeworth?
Sir, what are you saying?
This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I had assumed that the person I ran into was the killer, but that may not be the case.
What do you mean?
The person I ran into was just your average thief.
A thief? But, sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts? I mean, there's a dead man.
Not at all. It simply means that the killer was somebody else. And it means that in actuality 2 culprits stole into my office tonight.
What do you mean, 2?
It explains both why my shelves were disturbed twice and how there were 2 guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Bird and gained entry into my office.
Objection!
Now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know.
If you could please go along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. Now then, returning to my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me, which is why he checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time.
So then, this would be when the files were put back in the wrong order, right?
Correct. And then, just when he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith?
Why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir?
He probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area. But that's when he noticed some sounds coming from my office. That would be my guess.
Oh, because you were supposed to be away, right?
And he must have thought it was odd, so he came into the office to check it out.
Correct! And as a detective, that was the right thing to do.
But when he came in, he found his own partner standing there.
Because it was Mr. Portsman, Mr. Faith probably let his guard down. But Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance, stole Mr. Faith's gun from him. Then, he killed him. He silenced Mr. Faith for catching him in the act of stealing. This was the moment in which the first shot was fired, the one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made his exit. He could afford to do that because he had also left the fake dying message behind.
Such a complicated troublemaker, you know that?
Well, if things were as simple as that, then all would be solved. However, there was yet another visitor to my room, and this is where it gets complicated.
There was another?
Visitor, sir?
Yes, and this other person's objective was also to steal something from me. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, and so they stole the master key from the security guard's room. Then entered my room and searched through my shelves. This was the second time they were disturbed, and it seems the thief found their prize.
You stole an O file, right, sir?
Correct. Only just as the thief was about to leave with the file, I appeared. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. The second bullet was fired during that brief encounter.
So the shelves getting messed up twice in the 2 bullets. It was all because 2 different people were doing those things at 2 different times.
Precisely. And now do you see, Mr. Portsman? The person I met was just a thief and was not, in fact, Mr. Faith's killer. Your alibi for the time frame in which I ran into the other person is now irrelevant. Because we now know that the murder took place during the first culprit's visit.
Objection!
What's so funny, pal?
Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything.
Of course it does. It's Mr. Edgeworth after all.
But you know, it still doesn't change the fact that it's circumstantial. It's all circumstantial. Supposing if, and that's a big if, your theory is right, would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant. But there is still one defining point of your argument for which you have no evidence. Your supposition that I was the first visitor.
Mr. Edgeworth, you can't let him get away with that, sir.
But he has a point. I have absolutely no proof at this point.
Don't say that, sir.
I don't believe this. Don't worry, Maggie. I'll do something if I must.
You know something? I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was just a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct.
Portsman's Alibi Part 2.
That thief you ran into should be a real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. I hate to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was training in my room. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down at Criminal Affairs. So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left.
So you think we should be out there looking for the thief?
Of course. Now isn't the time to be wasting time on dead-end discussions.
I don't think it's at all dead-ended. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? The thief was Payne, right? He was balding? Sadly, we do not at this time know who the second baddie is. I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. I'll just have to find a way to prove it.
That thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say?
Hold it!
Actually, no, I wouldn't.
Why not?
That's elementary. The dying message, of course. Mr. Faith's killer very clearly left those letters on the spines of those files, and it was after they were on there that the thief stole one of them.
You mean the old files, right?
And that's how we also know the letters themselves were a setup and not from Mr. Faith. If the thief was the killer, do you think they would try to undermine themselves?
Ah! Maybe the killer just didn't think of that either. Yeah, that must be it. Maybe, just maybe. We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby.
Hold it!
Once escaped, I highly doubt a thief would linger nearby.
Well, you never know. Maybe they didn't get what they were really after.
Oh? You talk like you know quite a bit about this thief.
Ah, it's nothing like that. I have no idea about anything after all. I hate to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was training in my room.
Hold it!
But according to Mr. Faith's note...
Hold on, I thought we already cleared that up. Didn't we say that Jim left that note for me in the early evening? If you have proof that he left it at a different time, say just before he was murdered.
I don't have any, no.
You see, so I insist again that I was in my office the entire time. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down at Criminal Affairs.
Hold it!
I thought you said it was early evening.
Shut up.
Why didn't you go there with Mr. Faith?
That's because he said he was tired and was going to take a quick nap. You know those sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits.
And what of the evidence he brought?
They were things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 items. A gun and a pendant.
Interesting. This piece of testimony seems too crucial to let slip through the cracks.
He brought me 2 items. A gun and a pendant that are related to yesterday's case.
Hold it!
A gun and a pendant.
Yes, this gun, which was the murder weapon. And this pendant, which belonged to the victim.
And why were you taking them to Criminal Affairs?
There was something in a past case file I wanted to compare these two to. But all this has nothing to do with this case right now. Anyway, I believe you'll find the long paper trail I left to be to your satisfaction.
This is all matching up with what Detective Gumshoe found out.
So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left.
Hold it!
I can't expect you to know, can I?
No. But I guess you could expect me to take a guess based on logical deductions.
Oh? Then let's see you deduce.
Jim waited for me to leave and then stole the master key. For the purpose of sneaking into your room, of course. And that's when Ms. Bird caught him red-handed and the murder occurred. It's all exactly as I had laid out earlier.
I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it. What do we have? Bullet clean through abdomen. Victim's revolver. Safe. Stolen file. Master key. Portsman's office, the basketball hoop. Note left by victim. I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by, just like we talked about on the phone. Is it as simple as that? He said you got 2 pieces of evidence, but the note says 3. What else did he bring you, motherfucker?
Objection!
Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase here is, you fool! I mean, you fail.
Excuse me?
You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me.
What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you.
Well, here's a piece I think you should read. Carefully.
It says that Mr. Faith was bringing 3 pieces.
Yes, and this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman.
I can't believe... To get tripped up by simple arithmetic!
Where is the missing piece of evidence? You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Detective Gumshoe.
You don't have to say it, sir. I'll pat the guy down from head to toe.
Why? Don't come any closer, I'm warning you!
This is all part of the investigation, pal, so don't even think about stopping me.
No!
Hey, what's this? You had this on him, sir.
Despite what you said, it would appear that you do have something to hide.
Why would he hide something like that?
There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this kind. Because it would unequivocally point to that person himself as the real killer. Let's examine the videotape in a little more detail. For the section of the tape that will drive the last nail into his coffin. KG8. The KG8 incident.
That's a police case number, sir. Does that mean this video is evidence from that case?
Interesting. However, what's recorded on this isn't important right now. Let's give the casing a thorough once-over. What do you guys reckon it is? I reckon it's going to be the blood stain on the back. Does anybody think it's going to be anything else?
Duh! That's blood, isn't it?
Yes, and I believe this is what the good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh.
You mean this might be Detective Faith's blood?
No! You've got it all wrong.
No amount of denial can save you. We have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us that you had received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us when and how did the victim's blood find its way onto this video.
Yeah, it's totally suspicious.
Was it at the moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his personage when you killed him?
You know very well there's no way to prove that.
Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints.
Ah!
If I had to take a guess, I'd say that the only ones on here would belong to the murderous you and Mr. Faith.
No, impossible.
Well, he choked to death on the metal, so I guess we won't need to go to court.
Mr. Portsman has been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Faith, sir.
Very good.
And the results we got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. The blood work came back and it was definitely Mr. Faith's blood on there. And as a bonus, they were also able to lift a few of Mr. Faith's fingerprints as well.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deduction skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir.
It was nothing. I'm just sorry you got caught up in a murder in my office. Please accept my apologies.
Aw, it was nothing, really, compared to what I've been through, I mean. I consider myself lucky that it was only a burglary and a murder this time, sir. If it had been a hold-up or a hostage situation, I'd have thrown my hands up in the air. I think I'm finally rising up from a goddess of misfortune to just an unlucky person.
Something tells me we should have hired a different person for the security detail.
You know something, sir? That Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor.
And why would you say that he was corrupt?
Well, I mean, he committed a murder. Well, I mean, I heard that there were a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. There's even rumors about how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir.
Forged evidence, huh?
And they say he even decided not to prosecute a few cases for some really vague reasons.
Oh, that guy was a complete disgrace to the entire profession.
We never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office.
Yeah, whatever we got near that topic, he just clammed up.
Although, we can be pretty certain that it was to steal something.
This is just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization is involved behind the scenes.
Oh, well, well. With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly lends credence to that rumor. It would seem that we haven't heard the last of this.
Huh? Then Mr. Portsman isn't the bad guy?
I didn't say that, but rather that there are still many more mysteries for us to solve. Another bad guy to find. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance to this piece of evidence. I'm gonna say it's the file. Could be the safe, but I think they mean the file.
Take that!
The person who stole this file. The other villain of the night.
Yeah, I wonder who it was.
And what happened to the stolen pages? I wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at gunpoint?
Mr. Edgeworth, sir.
Yes.
I came across this while I was processing your office earlier.
This card.
What is it, sir? Is that a bind or something on there? Sorry, a bird?
It's not just any bird. It is the mark of the raven. A three-legged raven. Even you should know what this is, Detective.
Oh, it's about that thing, isn't it? That great thief everyone's talking about. Mask to Mask?
No. It is the mark of the great thief, Yatagarasu. Under the mark of a legendary bird, the Yatagarasu is noble to the end. A modern Robin Hood. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the Yatagarasu appears and vanishes at will. Though we don't know much about this thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. The Yatagarasu likes to find and make public evidence of corrupt dealings of all sorts. The theft is always performed in silence and always with perfection. Once a target is chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is sent forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence that was found is sent out to the mass media. Along with this single card. Although it has been a while since the Yatagarasu's last appearance.
Hey, Mr. Edgeworth. Look, something's written on the back.
What? Let me see.
It's the location of where the thief put the stolen files.
So the person who stole the contents of the file was the Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu. Organization. Quite a few key words are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief Yatagarasu. Looking back, I can't say I didn't see these events coming. For they were heralded by the incidents that began to occur 2 days ago. Ah yes, the cases in this game aren't chronological. We have unlocked Turnabout Airlines. Don't auto-start. It doesn't. We see that the image for case 1 is Edgeworth, and these lovely dual screen images don't really work with me. They don't work with either your view or my view, because I, having a regular sized widescreen monitor, have the two screens for the DS left and right. They're not up and down from each other like they are on the actual product. I would normally stop a Saturday stream in about half an hour, which is still 2 hours less than it used to be, but I do have to... Well, I do get to see my girlfriend tonight, so we don't get the full Saturday length that we used to have. I only get that when she cancels. The title screen being Turnabout Visitor. Dick. But I think the smart thing to do is finish there. I imagine this is the only case that we'll manage to do in one day, mind you, but it will take longer to play this game than it took to play the trilogy because we have less time on our Saturdays. Unless I give this game some Sunday time, which I may do in February and March if I finish my 14 subscription for a while, which I did say I have a sort of plan to do. I want to finish leveling Reaper first, which I've been neglecting, and also there's a new patch, I think, next week, and a New Year's event. So we will be playing 14 tomorrow. Kiko is on? That's unusual, but sure. I don't have my dashboard. Here it is. But yeah, tomorrow we'll play some 14. Next week, we start it all over again with 3 more days of Baldur's Gate 3, probably proceeding into the Underdark, no doubt. And then we'll get to Case 2 next Saturday. Fare thee well.